Good afternoon. It's been a long week already, right? It feels like it should. 2 weeks have gone by, and it's only been 3 days, so it's been long. The very first lesson we had, I guess it's been a few weeks ago now. We talked about planning, and one of the things we talked about was the importance of an emergency fund. And we talked about how that emergency fund really comes before paying off your debt, before investing in the stock market. It's one of the top priorities that you're going to have when you're setting up your budget is funding your emergency fund. And people across the entire Southeast found out this week why it's so important to have that emergency fund and why it ranks so high up on your list of things to do financially. We mentioned maybe $2,500 is a good place to be. And in the circumstances we've gone through, you're going to have a deductible for the damage on your home possibly or your car. That's what that fund is for. That emergency fund is not for a trip somewhere because you have a want. It's for a need. So that's why that's a minimum. But it used to be 10 years ago, $1,000 emergency fund was what was recommended. Things have increased in cost drastically over the last few years. So it's encouraged me to say maybe we should bump that up around 2,500, maybe more. But reasons you need that is for weeks like we've just had. You never know when stuff like this is going to happen. Nobody can tell. So it's one of the things, if you don't take anything else from maybe the classes we've had, is the importance of having that emergency fund. You can see it firsthand how important that will be in the future if you're just starting or if you've been on this journey for a while and you have that money. It will not be a shock to your financial system when you have to pay these deductibles or repairs or lost wages because you missed work. You'll have that to back up as a backup. Tonight's lesson 4. This is 4 weeks in, believe it or not. It's been a fast 4 weeks. And I titled tonight's lesson, It's Hard to Bless Others If You're Broke. It's hard to bless others if you're broke. So without money, you'll have a hard time blessing your church, your kids, your family, or society in general. It takes that. So how do I accumulate the wealth to have the money to be able to bless others? So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit tonight, is how do you get to that point where you can bless others more than maybe you currently are. And the game of money is not all about seeing how much you can grab or get and stack in your stack, because at the end of the day, it's almost like you're just getting points, right, in a game of some kind. But it's about what you can do with that money to help others. There are people who they're philanthropists, and all they do is give away money. That's their job, is to give away money. They've accumulated so much that they can do great good for society from the money that they've made in the past. But they didn't wake up one day and have the money to be able to give away. It was a process for them, in most cases, just like it is for us. We're going to start out tonight reading Matthew chapter 25, and it's going to be verse 14 through 30. It's one I've used before. It's a great biblical verse talking about your talents and things that you may have. So that's going to be Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 through 30. And we're just going to take a few minutes and read that. We'll stop in between, and so let's go at it. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents. And the servant turned around and said, "Why did you give me so much responsibility? That don't seem fair." That's not what it says. To another he gave 2 talents. And that servant said, "Wow, that seems unfair. You gave him 5 and you're only giving me 2. That's not what it says. To another 1. That servant got so mad he quit, threw the talent down and ran away. It's not what it says. To each, he gave them each to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 more talents. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. Now let's stop there real quick. A talent. Does anybody know what a talent would be equal to in today's money, plus or minus? About $1.4 million. And he says, you've been faithful over a little. It's a lot, right? I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You know, he didn't say, you only made 2 talents and the other guy made 5. That's not how he looked at it. He who had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground here. Here you have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I scatter no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers. And at my coming I should have received what was mine with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. And in that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So a couple things we can get out of this story. The first thing that I noticed was we're not all given the same talents. It doesn't work that way. We're not all given the same talents. It's what you do with what you're given that's important, not how much you were given or how much you started out with. It's what you do with it. Another thing is, I kind of noticed, is we all invest in something. As you read through the verses, all 3 of the guys invested in something. One thing you can invest in is your overall betterment. That could be educating yourself, becoming a better person. Another thing it could be is you may invest in your pleasures. Sounds like that's what the third guy may have done. Maybe didn't do anything. We invest in our spouses, maybe our lifestyles, and sometimes we even invest in our sins. So we all invest in something with what we have. But like we talked about before, it's our job to tell the money what to do and how to do it. It's not the money's job to control us. So we have to decide how we're going to invest what we have. No matter how large or how small it is, that part doesn't really matter that much in this story. It matters what you do with what you're given. We all have limitations, physical, mental. It's true, right? Every human has some limitations on themselves, whether it's seen or unseen. And we can see that by looking at the human race. We've got people like Elon Musk they're literally geniuses. He started out mentally stronger than most anybody else. He's able to invent things and do things that a lot of us would never even dream about. So we're not all created equal when it comes to that kind of stuff. We have limitations physically. That's why I'm not a basketball player or football player. I have limitations physically, right? So we've got those, but that should not stop us from trying. We cannot use our limitations as a crutch or a way out to say, well, because the reason such and such is doing well is because of this. That such and such has limitations just like you do. So you should constantly be trying to better yourself. And since we're talking about finances, we want to talk about how do we better ourselves and financially to the point that we can do more for others. And like we said, it could be doing more for others in many different aspects in our life. So some of tonight's advice, lesson, has to be applied to your individual circumstances because I've already told you we're not all going to have the same stuff, the same thing starting out. Just like in Matthew 25, one guy has 5, one has 2, one has 1. We're not all starting out on the same playing field all the time. It's just not the way life works. So some things that I may say may simply not apply to you, may not be the best thing for you, but it may be the best thing for the person sitting next to you or listening online. So let's talk about the basics to begin with. So we're talking about accumulating wealth here. Your income is the best way to accumulate wealth. Your income, whatever that is, whether it's you and your spouse or you're single, whatever your income is, that is your wealth building tool. So if there was a formula, and I've used this before, but if there was a math formula to tell you how do you accumulate wealth, I would say maximize income plus minimizing expenses plus consistent savings and investing equals wealth accumulation. Those 3 things added together in a math equation will equal wealth accumulation. Now, all right, yeah, that's fine. Number 1, maximize your income. And when you do that, you may use multiple income sources. But the theme is maximize income plus minimize expenses, spending less than you make, right? And consistent savings and investing equals wealth accumulation. That formula cannot fail. It doesn't know how to fail. Now, wealth accumulation means different things to different people. For me, it might mean $10 million. To the next man, it might mean $100,000. To the next person, it might mean all my debt's paid off and I've got 25. So wealth accumulation, that does not have a number value. But the formula always equals. Those 3 things always equal some form of wealth accumulation. Minimize expenses and consistent savings and investing will always equal some type of wealth accumulation. So what are what can be your income sources? This is important because like we said, your wealth building tool is your income. That's it. You've got to have income. So it's your salary or you and your spouse's salary, however that works out, whether it's a single income home or a dual income home. That's going to be where a majority of Americans' money comes from, is your job. Now, what I'm going to say about this is if you have a low-paying job, if your job is paying you $7, $8, $9, $10 an hour, and I'm not saying those are bad jobs. I'm just telling you, I'm going to give you facts. If that's the job you currently have, you need to look for another job. I did not say quit your job. You did not hear me say that. I said you need to be looking for another job, training for another job, preparing for another job. You cannot meet bare necessities on those type wages in 2024, okay? So always before you were to quit a job, you would always have a job secured, right? Before you quit a job, you would always give a 2-week notice. That would be customary. It's the right thing to do, and you don't burn bridges in these circumstances. But in the end of the day, you should be looking and striving to do better. And I'm not picking on those particular dollar amounts, but I'm just telling you in real life, in those numbers, if you're minimum wage or around that, you should be looking and saying, okay, I know this is getting me by for today, but also have enough wherewithal about yourself to know this is not going to work long term. You need to maximize your income. That was one of the formulas, right? That was one of the steps here. Maximize your income. You've got to work to do that. You can always, if you're in a job like that, let's talk about getting a raise, because that's a lot of things. And in business, I've been in business for a long time now. 30 years actually. This September, August, September, 30 years. So I've done this for a long time, and I've heard every kind of story from every kind of walk of life you can imagine. But the question maybe you should be asking, we're trying to maximize our income. Let's stay on track. We're maximizing income. How do I get a raise? Number one, be invaluable to your company. You've got to set yourself apart. You've got to make yourself where if you're not there, they don't know what to do. You've got to make yourself invaluable to the company you work for if you're a company man or woman. You got to be there early every day. Not every once and again, not 3 days a week, early every day. You cannot miss work. We're talking about how do you get a raise. You cannot miss work. You've got to be productive at your job. You've got to work like you've already got the raise that you want, okay? It doesn't work. I hate when employees come to me, and I'm not alone in this, and they want a raise, but they really haven't done anything extraordinary. They haven't stood out. They haven't done anything that would justify or lead you to think this person needs a raise. Be productive at your job, even when other people aren't. You should be a trendsetter. You should be an example. You should not be a follower in many walks of life, right? Be friendly and outgoing. They need to know you're there. A smile goes a long way. A good morning, how you doing goes a long way. Being friendly and outgoing. Ask your boss, your supervisor, ask your boss's boss, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you? That's going to take a lot of people off guard. They're going to look at you like you're crazy when you say that, because most of the time guys in those positions, they're stressed out, they're dealing with a lot, they're used to people not doing what they're supposed to do. We're used to it. And when somebody is early and they're productive, and then they come to you and say, what can I do? What can I do to help you? I know you got a lot going on. We're talking about how to get a raise. Attend every meeting you're asked to be at. Take notes and show interest. Nobody wants to promote or increase someone's pay who's not interested in the job they're doing. So you've got to show interest in your job. So one way to maximize your income is to get a raise. And in order to get a raise, I've given you step-by-step, very simple things that you can do to get there. Now, that does not mean you're going to get a raise next week, next month. This is about consistency. This is about the tortoise and the hare, folks. You've got to be consistent in these things. You may feel like they're unnoticed sometimes, and they may be. Keep doing it. You will get someone's attention. Number two, we're talking about maximizing our income so we can be a blessing to others. We're talking about investing in ourselves, and we're talking about using our talents wisely. Overtime pay. I remember from a really young age hearing my dad and his Uncle Charles. I know Mom and Robert would know Uncle Charles. Uncle Charles to us was a billionaire. He was off the charts. We were poor people, okay? Charles had done rental properties and business deals and transactions, so Dad listened to Charles when he spoke. And one thing I remember Dad and Charles talking about is Charles said, you'll never get anywhere working 40 hours a week. Not going to happen. 40 hours a week is to get by. I'm just being honest with you. In most situations, 40 hours is to get by. And I know what people say. What about the doctor, the architect, engineer, the accountant? I know all those type of guys. I'm around them. None of those guys work 40 hours a week. They work 60, and they're happy to do it. So don't look at the man with the 5 talents and say, he's got it easy. I bet he's going home every day at lunchtime taking a 3-hour lunch. I can tell you, I know those people. Those people are working more than 40 hours a week. If you're going to maximize your income, you're going to need to work more than 40 hours a week. You're going to need to get some overtime pay. If it's there, get it. Time and a half, right? If it's offered. I know Cullen's been really going to town on this, and I applaud him for that. He is available, and he's taking it. And it's helping him and his family because he's doing that. I'm sure it's not always easy, but he's doing it, and it's working, and it will work. If you put in those extra hours, not only are you going to make that time and a half pay, you're also going to catch your supervisor's eyes, and then you're going to be up for a raise, and then you're going to get a raise plus the overtime pay. Some of these things will double up. They stack up. Talking about extra income. If you are at a job where you have the availability to make bonuses or commissions, by all means, do it. If a bonus is available, find out what you, and maybe if it's a group you're working with, find out what you can do to get that bonus. It's out there. Go get it. Commissions. A lot of sales guys are based on commissions. Sometimes that's all they get paid. If you're a car salesman, my brother-in-law's a car salesman. He might be watching. Hey, Chris, what's up, dude? If he don't sell any cars, he don't get any money. It's, cut and dry, easy. You sell the car, you don't make no money. You got to make the sales. So a lot of jobs are based on commission. You're working a commission job. You want to maximize your income. You need to be prepared to do the following things. Number one, dress the part. Nobody wants to buy anything from somebody dressed like a hobo. Dress the part. Look nice, well-groomed, hair cut, smell good, look good. You ever heard fake it till you make it? Some of that's true. Some of it ain't, but some of it is. You need to look like you're serious about the job you're doing. People will take you serious. And I tell my guys that, and we cut grass a lot of times. I tell my guys, say, dress like you're the best grass cutter to ever cut grass. Shirt tucked in, belt on, boots. Look good. Nice hat, hair trimmed. And people are going to treat you a different way just because you take care of yourself. Dress the part. This can go for anything, but especially if you're a commission-based job. Get to know your client. Very important to get to know your client. Learn your client's name. That is very important to customers, to people in general. Let's take the word customers out. Scratch that. It is very important to people when you know their name. There are a lot of people who they have become very successful just because they took the time to know the people's names, and when they saw them again, they could call it. Hey, such and such, how you doing? Good to see you again. Automatically, you've got that person's attention because most people do not remember names. And, don't do that. Know the name. Know the children's name if you can. Know the dog's name. My sales lady that works for me, her name's Amber. She's really good at what she does. She knows my customer's dog's name. I kid you not. And you know what? Those people love her. They love her because she's got a dog treat in her pocket. When she knows she's going to such and such's house, she takes the treat. She calls the dog by name. They would buy ice if they lived in Alaska from Amber. But I'm telling you, because she has taken the time to do that. Right. It comforts you and relaxes you, and you're going to be more attentive to what that person says by those two things. So um, hobbies, David's real good about knowing the customers at the garden center, the sports, the teams that they pull for. Hey man, how about them Braves? How about them Gamecocks? How about them Tigers? He knows his people. He knows how to connect with them. And so then whenever they're going to buy a building unit, they don't even think about anybody else. They're going to see David because I'm going to go talk to him about the Gamecocks. He'll know what's going on over there. So those kind of things that seem like maybe not important to you are very important. This is not stuff Adam made up while I was laying down last night. These are things that I've read and studied from people who teach this over time. Jennifer, you got a question, comment? Right. So they know their people. They know their people, and it's very important to know your customer. They're going to reward you for taking the time. A big thing that seems almost a lost art with maybe it's just people in this area or maybe it's just overall. Know and understand your product and service. You cannot sell an idea or a customer on something if you don't know it very well. You should know it backwards and forwards. You should be an expert on the topic. That's how you build the trust. Now you know them, and now you're showing them you know your product. Whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a service industry or whether it's in the sales, know what you're selling, understand your product, understand your service. Very important. Make follow-up calls. Okay, you need to, and I know texting and emails are awesome. It's a good way. I personally only do that if I can't get you on the phone. Um, when I do my proposals, I'm going to have a file for my client. I'm going to let the client digest whatever I have spoken to them about for a period of time, 1 or 2 days. Then I'm going to call them. Hey, such and such, just want to make sure you got that email I sent over to you about the job we're talking about. See if you have any questions or concerns, anything you need me to change on there for you. Put the ball back in their court, right? It's about them. You're providing them with something. So if they don't answer, then I'll text them. Hey, just want to make sure you got this. But communication, right? The bottom line is communication. Take any in-person or online classes pertaining to your service, your industry. It goes back to knowing your product really well. For me, I've got this nice little handy dandy shirt on tonight. It's coincidental, believe it or not. About 2 years ago, there was a landscape technician class offered through Clemson Extension or Clemson University. And I took it. I didn't need it. I knew I could have probably wrote what they were teaching about, but I took the course, passed the course, got a little nice shirt, got a nice certificate, and my name's on the website as a certified landscape technician in South Carolina. Those are the kind of things that give your client confidence in you, is that you've taken time to educate yourself, and you can wear a shirt or you can have a certificate. You can have a press release showing you did due diligence, showing that you're serious about what you're doing, and also that you're investing your talent wisely, right? We're doing things the only way that the guys in Matthew 25 were able to do what they did, doubling their money, was to do things like this. You know, they did things like this to double that money. Attend business social functions if they're available to you. Don't run out and do anything crazy, spend a bunch of money to go to those things. But if they're available, go to them. Shake some hands, hand some cards out, let them see your face. The idea is that you're not going to make a sale that night, or you're not going to sell them if you're in the air conditioner business, a brand new AC unit. But because they've seen you at these events over the year or years, when they need X, they think about you because you've been the one they've seen and talked to, okay? So attend those social functions when you can. Me and Robert's talked about this a lot over the years. Connections are huge. Networking is huge in business. It's very important to get to know people, right? And the last thing I'll say about that part of it is read. Read sales and leadership books. I brought this book here. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's one I've been reading on and off for a while. The good thing about this book here is when you're finished reading it, you can start over because you missed something or something you learned early on. It's going to remind you to do it. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a great book if you're in business to read. It's a great book to read as a person. I think Robert's read it too, I believe. I've tried to get Wyatt to read some of it. I think I've sent a copy to Isaiah. I said, read this thing, man, because this is stuff this book was written, I think, 80, 90 years ago. It's been updated since then with different revisions, but it's an old book, and it shows you how important the principles, a lot of things I'm talking about tonight came out of this book. It's good stuff in there. So read Dave Ramsey, read John C. Maxwell, read Dale Carnegie. Read, okay? It's important. So we're talking about income and how to maximize our income. Real quick. Yep, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do your thing. All right, Craig, I appreciate that. Craig worked with us a couple summers. Good dude. Really enjoyed the Pender family in general. All those guys are great people. So. And it's really simple. These are simple things, but it's things that maybe you've heard or forgotten or just not applied. But those items are very important. So talking about maximizing income, we talked about, 40 hours is not going to do it. Maybe you've got a job where 40 hours is all you can get. And that's the case. And a lot of times, sometimes 30 hours. Companies, they're doing what they've got to do to make profits so they can pass it on to the stockholders, so the stockholders buy more stock. It's a big circle, right? So we can't blame them for that. We're not blaming the guy because he got 5 talents and we only got 2. But we're going to work in the system we're living in. We're going to work in that system. So that brings up, what am I going to do? I'm limited to 40 hours no matter what I can do. I'm limited to 30 hours. What do I do? You need a side hustle. You need a side hustle. You need to make more money, and it's endless. The side hustles are endless. But let's talk about real quick, how do I choose a side hustle? That's a question that maybe you're sitting here listening and you say, well, that sounds great, but how do I choose a side hustle? You said it's endless, and it really is. What do you enjoy doing? That should be the first question. What do you enjoy doing? Because if you're doing something you enjoy, you're motivated already. You're like, man, I can't wait to go do that. When I get off of work, man, I'm ready to do it. So pick something you enjoy. If you need to make a list of your hobbies, let it start out that way. Maybe you like tinkering in your shop. I know a lot of guys that like to, do little building in a workshop. It's all kind of things that you may be interested in. Build off of what you enjoy doing so you can turn that into a money-making idea. Number 2, decide if you want to do a service or do you want to do sales. We've already talked about what it takes to do those, but you need to decide that. Am I going to sell a product and get paid a commission or some kind of money or margins because of the product I've sold, or am I going to offer a service and provide a service for someone? There's so many services that people are willing to pay for. We live in an aging society. I'm going to tell one of my secrets, my company secrets. The money's in Aiken. That's where they keep it at, okay? The money's in Aiken because it's an aging society and they need things. A lot of folks still want to do these things, but they're not able to. Maybe some of these people are able to do things, but now they can afford to pay someone else to do it. So there's so many services. Mowing, lawn mowing, we can do that on the weekends. Power washing, we know David does some power washing. Minor carpentry work. You don't have to go out and build a house. There's so many people that I run into every day that need minor carpentry work. They're not looking to spend $10,000, but they might be got one they want to do some stuff around the house with. Mechanic, you might like mechanicking. Home cleaning, there's a lot of folks that do home cleaning. That's something that you enjoy doing, is seeing something go from dirty to clean. It's one of the things that I enjoy about my line of work is that I can go in and see a blank slate, an empty yard, with nothing, and then 10 days later we walk out and it's green grass and lush trees and mulch and sprinklers. That's cool, right? I like that. So maybe you like to see something happen. Dog walking, house sitting, running errands. People will pay you to run errands in some areas. Marketing on social media, creating emails for a business, creating advertisement for a business. You may really like to do graphic design work. I've used Cynthia over the years. She's done subcontract work for me where I'd say, hey, I need to do a new ad for Aiken Standard or People's Sentinel, or I need something written up for the Big Dog Radio, and she'll do it for me. I don't have time to do it, and she's better at it. She can take what I'm thinking and make it pretty on paper so that people say, wow, that's pretty cool. So there's a need for that. You can do Uber, you can do DoorDash, you can be a waiter or a waitress. Now you might say, this guy has lost his mind. He's going to tell me that I should be a waiter or a waitress. Man, there's big money in that. You think I'm crazy, but if you do it at a nice high-end restaurant and you do the things we talked about above, you're treating people right, you're knowing their names, you're serving them well, they're going to tip well. There's money in these things. Picking a side hustle and rolling with it. How do I pick a side hustle? That's what we're talking about. Do you or can you do the side hustle with your spouse or children? This is an important thing for a lot of families and a lot of people who want to be with their family is, man, if I start this, I'm going to lose time with my family. That's what we've been told. I'm going to lose time with my family. What if your family did that side hustle with you? We've always done our side hustle, which turned into a business. We've always done it together, whether it was when I was a kid growing up with mom and dad and my brothers, my cousins jumped in, my friends jumped in. That's what made it somewhat enjoyable, right? Is that we were able to do this hustle. We were able to make this money with people we enjoyed being with. My kids now do the side hustle with me. It's turned into a full-time job now. It's no longer a side hustle. Sometimes that happens, and that's fine. The kids, yesterday, they're out of school. Wyatt and Weston ran a blower all day. Wyatt's on the Bobcat doing leaves. I'm in the office doing my phone calls. We're all still together. I have not separated from my family to provide for my family. We have done it together. So ask yourself, is this side hustle something we can do together? And if the answer is yes, get them on board and let's do it together. Can it or will it be worth the effort? Listen, Mr. James Long, who taught me a little bit of business, a little bit of horticulture, he was a pastor, all rolled up in one. And he was the kind of guy that would just tell you that if you're not going to make any money at them, go get you a basketball, son, and go play a sport. Don't be out here. If you can't make money, do something else, is what he was telling me. Good old guy, but he was a straight talker. That's what I needed. I needed somebody to tell me, hey, you like growing plants? Awesome. If you can't make money at it, you need to find something else. Is it worth the effort? What is your track record for sticking with something? If you're terrible at it, can you do better? Are you willing to put the work in to do better? There's a lot of people who start side hustles. They go all in. They go in too big, to be honest with you, and then it falls apart on them because they're in a rut of not following through, not sticking with it. These things don't make money overnight. It requires you to stick with it. If you can't do that, you need to sit down and with yourself in your quiet time and find out why not. Why can't I stick with this? Why can't I stick with anything maybe? Figure that out. And the last part of this particular idea is how to pick a side hustle. A pyramid scheme is not a side hustle. Okay? A pyramid scheme is not a side hustle. How do I know if it's a pyramid scheme? If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You've got common sense, use it. If somebody says, hey, buy this, and then you go sell it to 25 other people, and that money's going to flop to this person, this money's going to flop to this person, where's all that money flying from? Don't fall for it. Okay? That's not a side hustle, that's a gimmick. Don't fall in line with the pyramid schemes. Do something productive you can be proud of, and that's my recommendation on that. I've got a couple of the points real quick. I'll wrap things up. I know we're running out of time. We're talking about maximizing our income tonight. I hope some of these things have been helpful to you as we've gone down the list. A lot of people like property management or rental income, and that's fine. So we'll talk just a real quick minute about that. Rental income is good, but remember, it's not free money. Rental income is good, but remember, it's not free money. You will work for it. You will take phone calls late at night, early in the morning. You will deal with people's issues and problems. So just keep that in mind. But rental income is good income. It's good long-term income. It's a lot of times considered passive income, which is what you want to have some of if you can. Multiple streams of income is how you build wealth over time. Renting doesn't have to be you're not just having to rent out a property. Sometimes I'll rent out machinery. If you've got something someone's interested in, you could rent out a machine. You can rent out a camper. You can rent out a storage unit. You can rent out a residence. So there's ways to have passive income, and I would just encourage you to look through the different ways to make passive income and see if that is a fit for you. Remember at the very beginning I said everything I say is not for everyone. This may work perfect for you. It may not. It's worked well for me. I've been doing it for 24 years. Okay, so it's not something I bought a unit and then I had hit the lottery. That's not how rental income works. It's not how passive income works usually. It's going to be one at a time, until it does make money. But be mindful, study on that, think about it, make sure it's something you can handle before you jump into renting or whatever kind of passive income you go for. Another way to make money is if you have money, it makes money. We've all heard that. Very true. Very true. If you've got money, it will make money if you invest it right. Just for instance, and this is not always in everybody's realm, but it may be in your realm if you work a little while or if you accumulate for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it will be in your realm and it is attainable. If you have $100,000 and it's in a CD right now, you're going to get $416 a month. You're not going to do nothing. You get $416 every single month. Not a bad deal, right? Money makes money. If you have a municipal bond, we'll talk about more investing things next week or the week after. But if you have a municipal bond, which is when you own a bond that belongs to a city, town, government, some kind of government facility, it's tax-free. So now that $100,000 investment, it'll make $416 a month tax-free. No Social Security, no federal, no state, no nothing. It's free and clear, your money, because it's a municipal type bond. So money will make money. Once you get to that point, it will accumulate, and it will be working while you're sleeping. But you've got to start by telling your money what to do. You've got to start by maximizing your current income. You've got to start by looking for a side hustle, looking for a way to make commissions or bonuses if you're in that way, in that type of work. That's where it starts at. The end result is having money that will make money while you're sleeping. It will make money whatever you're doing, it's steady accumulating more money. And then when you make money, you're able to give money, right? If you follow the Dave Ramsey program, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, his thing is, now I can give away money that I never thought I could. I'm able to help people that I never would have been able to, because he is now a philanthropist. He gives away money. That's what he does. He's got more than he needs. He don't even need it, but he's giving it away and doing good things with it. And you can too. Once you have paid off your debts, once you have accumulated these monies, then, and along the way, not saying you don't do it while you're getting there. I'm just saying once you get there, then you have the accessibility to do great things for other people. With all that being said, anybody got anything they want to add to that, take away from that? Question? It is 7:45, or 7:50 actually, according to my phone over here, but 7:45, 7:50. Anybody? While wrapping things up, I'll tell you the last little bit of studying I did. I know people, because I am a people. You know what people say? Man, I ain't got time to do none of that. That guy just spent 30 minutes telling me all this stuff I need to do, and I ain't got time for none of it. I'm a busy guy. I'm a busy gal. The average American spends 2.5 hours per day on social media. Hey, that's what it says. I'm not saying you're average, but that is the average, 2.5 hours. Yes, sir. Because of the technology. We've got, right. The average American spends 3 hours a day watching TV, but I have no time to do my side hustle. I have no time to read and study and get better at my job. I have no time. I've got 3 hours to watch TV. The average American spends 1 hour per day surfing the internet, looking for things to buy, shopping, gossiping. We all have time, plenty of time to gossip. We all do our fair share of that. We got time for that. A lot of times we have time to overtalk situations. That time could be used more wisely. So my argument is, if you say you have no time, or I don't have time to implement the things that we've talked about tonight, I would argue that according to studies, Americans in general, maybe not you, but in general, we have a lot of time to use for our betterment. Let's take the talents we're given, use them wisely, as the guys in Matthew did. Let's don't follow the example of the last fella in the story who buried his talents and was basically lazy and slothful. That's not the example we want to follow. And that's why the story's there, to give us examples. This is the to-dos, this is the not-to-dos. And I like that parable because it's simple and pretty much anybody can understand that. With that being said, that's all I've got tonight. If you've got anything else you want to add, it's all yours. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for tuning in.
You know, it's these are the tips that are being given. What's being talked about is super important. It's relative practically. It's biblically sound. The book of Proverbs is loaded with it. Jesus talks more about money than anybody else in the New Testament. The Bible says to be able to give with a cheerful heart. And you give with a cheerful heart when you know that you've worked hard for what you got, that you did it the right way, and that you're giving it to a good cause. So this is important. Something that's in the back of my mind is actually turning this into something that we offer through the church to other churches, meaning that we don't have Dave Ramsey's running around. I'm pretty sure Dave would charge a little money. I mean, I know his stuff costs money. But actually offering through the church this kind of financial class to other churches in the area and beyond would be awesome to be able to do eventually, because the Bible says the children of the world know how to take care of their money better than the church. And that turns out to be true. And the word philanthropist should stay on our minds. We should all want to be that at some level, is to give money away where it matters, okay? So, Adam, you did great. We appreciate it. Father, help this bury in our hearts, that we do what's right with what you've given us. And, Lord, that we can accumulate wealth to be able to give away wealth, Lord, so we can treat our neighbor rightly. It's hard to give money to your neighbor and hard to give to those in need when you're broke. Lord, so let us be smart with what you've given us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.